Agenda items include the agenda minutes, personal items, and bills as listed items A through C.
Been moved and supported, is there any discussion?
I do have discussion, just before we do that, I just wanted to explain, of course, I am voting not to accept the agenda. And please understand that my reason for this is the process of, I don't believe that we have followed our own policy as far as who we have put in as an person, either person. I think it's strong, I believe in Brian, I believe if Brian said that they're good, they are, but I don't believe we followed procedures. I think this should have been up for discussion and open discussion.
I agree. I think we need more transparency on employees, particularly in these positions. I think the community needs to know more about what we're doing. And I'm just disappointed that it's in a consent agenda.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Opposed. Okay. Four to three, yes.
I'd like to take a second to introduce the interim Algonac High School principal, Mr. Lever. And also welcome to the administration from Algonquin Middle School principal, Ms. Provost Stage. Congratulations to you both. You gave a quick administrative report just in terms of GSRP program. Met with the GSRP staff this morning. The RESA has allowed us 64 slots for our preschool program. We're sitting right now, and this is just from collecting from kindergarten on, so collecting from the end of the school year, right in the 50 range, which is probably exactly where we thought we'd be at this point. And then we'll shake the trees and, try to make sure that we have all our slots filled at 64. So we're going to take care of that sometimes. Usually August is about when we start. We got a little bit of jump on it this year. But looks like we're going to have 2 full classrooms of that again, which is wonderful. The state has allowed a little bit more money per slot this year, up to $3,600 per slot from $3,200. Bad news is the RESA, since they're overseeing it and running it, they've been a little bit cheaper, they're taking $400 instead of $200. So about a wash, maybe picked up a couple bucks per slot, but that program once again will be big for itself. It's some poor kids in there, they're going to get instruction from
So, you're at 50 right now, and those 50 are in, and we usually have late comers that show up.
We have latecomers. We have a portion of them at the poverty levels of certain, if there's 250%, maybe I should look at that based on how many kids are in family, things of that sort. A little formula that you figure. If they're at a certain level, the first reference is to the Head Start program in the city. So, and that's just standard practice across the whole state is the same one. So they'll go to
sit over there.
Their Head Start has an opportunity to talk to them, and then they also have the opportunity to waive out of that, I guess, if you were to come back to Algonac. And we've brought probably our biggest ask is that we provide transportation. So a lot of times our kids tend to stay here, and that's kind of where we want them. Not to say that the Head Start program's not good, because it's rare to get out there as well, but they do have the option to waive out of that and pass through maintainers. And that's about 21 in the rest of the line.
Any other administrative reports? Any board reports? I wanted to let all of you know, I have talked with Mr. Pretend about, our search or options for, our superintendent search. And on prepared to, if there is consensus, to have Mr. Bruton have a timeline in place to research and find us a search firm by like November, December, that the board could then consider, whether we hear from a couple of them over a period of time between now and then. And then have someone hired, November-ish, December-ish. And then, once that happens, they kind of take over and run your search for you. By the time they would get their feet on the ground running, it would be, I would imagine it would be starting into the second semester, which is when the superintendent candidates that are going to be looking to move places, that's when they're gonna start wanting to sniff around, and we'd be in a position that we'd have somebody ready to go search those candidates out.
If I understand correctly, Amy, at that time, if you would pursue a search firm, that would be the time in which the search firm would get input from staff, community, et cetera,
Yes,
on how to find those
that's
topics.
correct, right. Not that I'm aware of, we're supposed to actively recruit. So this gives plenty of time to get a search firm in place. It puts the search firm in place at a time when the pool of candidates is a larger pool of people who are starting to look for jobs anyway. Rather than, if we started looking right now, everybody they're all gonna be where they're gonna be, except for the ones that don't have anywhere to be. And it'd be nicer to be able to choose from the larger pool of available candidates. It increases your odds of getting a better finalist. So that would put us in that way. So if we have consensus, Brian will begin putting that together for us and solicit bids later in the fall. But he can start looking into it for us now.
I can tell you too that I have been through 4 superintendents. 2 we've had searches for in the past. And, the first one we had over 60, I can't remember exactly, but for some reason I wanna think 67 names that were looking to be superintendent in Algonac. And, the second time we did it, the pool went to approximately 21. And now my understanding from talking to other board members from other districts in the state, their pool has been even less than that because of the district situation all around the state, nobody wants jobs anymore. And that the money has to be way up there in order to consider coming to a smaller school or an area from which they
I mean,
have,
$90 is still ain't good enough.
let you know in advance.
So we,
Getting very bad.
will the search firms assess us in that area, make recommendations to them?
Yes.
And I'm not sure how many search firms there are and such,
There's a lot of them out there, but, some try to stay within state, some try to do out of state, some do both, some try to stay in the district itself. It just depends on who you get and how they like to work it.
Is this something that, is the duty of the superintendent, or shouldn't it be the duty of the board?
Board hired superintendent.
Right.
No,
Well, I
I'm
mean,
aware of that.
even doing the work, and I understand what Chuck's point is, should it be that, a committee from the board is the one that looks at these, recruitment?
In the past, we've always had the whole board. And we narrow it down for, usually the, company that we get narrows it down because they have already talked to individual committees to see what they want to be a superintendent. And from there, they critique the ones who have asked to have their resumes brought to us. And then they narrow it, and then we get it from there. That's the general practice of what they do. We don't go through, 100
there ever a time when we didn't have a superintendent in place that the board actually did that process? That's kind of my
Yes.
question.
When Mr. Kaney
Yeah.
left for the RESA, we did not have a superintendent here.
The board did that.
So somebody must have filled it as.
The interim.
Superintendent.
Timber, and
And
Mr.
temporarily,
Foster,
sort of the same situation right now.
Mr. Foster was in.
So he conducted
He didn't conduct anything, he was just our interim until we got a superintendent in July.
well then, I guess I'd ask for, maybe we should have a policy, spell out, so we know what we're doing, and go by that. That's what, whatever is the pleasure of the board.
I guess my other thing would be, I understand having a firm that helps for that, when I get that would be very beneficial, but. So are you saying, so Brian's going to bring a list of places? Is
Brian,
that it?
well, remember, first of all, let me back up a little bit. The minute Mike had announced that he was accepting the job in Midland, mail started coming here addressed to me saying, oh, if you need a superintendent search outfit, here we are. And how many have we gotten so far? Three or four. And Nancy said, what do you wanna do with these? And I said, you know what, let's just start a file of those, and at such a time as we need to do that, we'll have that information on hand.
And then the other part I have is, with that, I mean, I know. Of course, it turns out, have we discussed this with RESA to see if they have some, I know that they've got a lot of expertise in doing this, have you reached out to RESA?
During Andy's proposal, I think what he was looking for me to do was to basically bring you a cafeteria plan, and lay out to you, the firms that, I think would be most fiscally responsible, have the best, reputation based on what other districts have done. And then I would give that to the board and say, here's your list, here's the cost, here's the advantages, and as Mr. Goulet pointed out, many of them have very different.
Why do we need a base?
Some will, narrow down to 5 for you, some will ask the whole committee, others will do surveys based on, and so each one of them is gonna have a very different process, and I think what Mr. Goulet is asking you to do is to bring a cafeteria list to you all, and say, these are 5 recommendations, here's what they do, here's the prices, and then whatever avenue the board would like to see, I can invite those in for presentations to the board as well too, and at that point, of course, I would step aside, but just kind of do the legwork and the research for you, and take a look at what's happened around the community, around the county, and see what would be the best options for the school.
A lot of people that have a lot of school districts who was under them, so it depends on.
And some of them are run by former superintendents. And these former superintendents, they know all the other superintendents, so they know who to go,
Yeah, guys.
sniffing out of the bushes for them too. So it's, there's different things. That's why it'd be nice to have a list of several of them brought to us that we could all peruse and say, this is what we like, or this sounds like a direction we should go, and then do it that way. So Brian has said he'll do that for me. Sort of,
I think it's important to keep in mind that this could be very costly as well, so when looking at the options, we have to decide if we want to pursue something like this, depending on cost, and there's different avenues we can take, but I just think keeping all those things in mind is really important right now when we have community members asking about our fiscal responsibility too. So keeping that in mind and looking for a search firm possibly that's fiscally responsible and also is going to meet with different groups in the community, in the schools, et cetera, and get input on what type of superintendent it is that people are looking for.
And that's why I talked with Brian about it over the last we've had a couple of conversations over the last couple of weeks about this. So that we have plenty of time to put this timeline into place, so that it's, can be taken care of with all diligence and everything that we're, that we wanna do, and do the fiscally responsible things and, all of that, so.
Mentioned the community,
Some, I don't know, you get some out there too that are, and sometimes it's the bigger ones, but they don't go quite into depth. They don't come to the community, some of them come to the community, they walk around and they talk to people, and then they'll do the surveys and what comes out of the staff members. for students. Some are very in-depth about that, some are just out there collecting names and resumes, passing them on.
Well, we would want those in-depth people, right?
You bet. I would think you want someone, in order to find a good fit for, you know, I mean, we're very unique out here, we have a certain, you know, certain population and whatnot, and I think that one makes sense, you want to make sure you have somebody that's, knows what we're about, and what they're.
And I'm not sure their whole exact, process as far as that end of it, but I know the firm that Midland used, the candidates had to turn in a resume, and then for the first interview, they had to turn in some more stuff, and do a second all-day interview. I mean, they made these people jump through all kinds of hoops, so that's the other side of it. There's the part about meeting with the staff and community and other people, and then there's the stuff that they actually, the rigor that they put their candidates through, you know, and then they send a gang down here, so.
It is expensive.
Well, it's not impossible to learn from staff, but you know, out there, you know, in the class.
Trying to,
Absolutely.
like,
Ryan, I do encourage you to talk with them, 'cause I know that they have expertise in so many areas.
That's what we want to do. Everybody agree?
Okay, so, thank you. Anyone else have any board reports? I received a letter from Lisa about, there's a meeting they're having on August 9th. It's on a Friday. I've been invited to it probably because I'm the president of the county association. It's where they're going financially and all those different kinds of things, and I'm not sure if the superintendent is gonna be there or what.
we had a brief update from St. Clair County Superintendent's report. Their budgetary situation is very similar to many of the districts that are out there right now, and I believe they're gonna meet with all the school boards and explain to them their current situation, also their strategy going forward to try and not get into an area of new programs. So I think that will be.
Anyone else? Superintendent's report.
As was on the agenda this evening, the very first priority that we had was to establish the interim principals at Algonac High School and Algonquin Middle School. And I have full faith that Mr. Lieber and Mrs. Estate are going to do very well, and great things for students and staff. So that was number one on the agenda for me when I took over the role. After we went through that, I wrote to you in a Friday letter that Al and I surveyed all of the buildings, each and every one of them. There was a little bit of concern on that because our reduction in force that we had in our cleaning crews. So we were a little bit leery on progress, but happy to report that we are on and ahead in most cases of progress. So all is going well in our buildings and getting them prepared for the opening of the school year. Al and I have both been meeting with Dean frequently to try and mesh our practices with their process. They have hired a supervisor as of Thursday. I met her on Thursday, and I believe Al met her today. And that is going to be vital for us to establish a connection with and have her meet with stakeholders, our administrators, and also Mr. Teague as well too. It's hard to believe, but athletics are really only a couple of weeks away from getting rolling, so we are meeting with them periodically to try and make sure that all will be a smooth transition. I also wrote to you that we had our very first voluntary staff iPad training a couple of weeks back. It was very well attended from K-12. We had 20 to 25 teachers show up. Our next training session is scheduled for tomorrow, and we have 4 more planned after that. And it's great to see enthusiasm from the staff. Again, this is all volunteer on their part, so shows their dedication and just another indicator of the great staff that we do have and their eagerness to learn and do good things for the kids. Also included in the Friday letter that the injunction has been lifted, and we can no longer legally collect union dues from our staff members' paychecks. So we are legally obligated to stop doing that. RISA, who is contracted to our payroll services, knows about this, and as of the next payroll, they won't be. We've been advised by RISA Legal that to not get used to it because they assume there's gonna be more legal action pending soon, so we will continue to monitor that situation. And, the last on my agenda is, we have received some good news from the NBE about several of our schools' 2012-13 performance. The official release and information on that is embargoed, so we can't go into details. But very, very proud of our schools, and we'll certainly let the public know those details when we are allowed to reveal. So it's been a very good first couple of weeks, and I appreciate everyone's support, community, staff, board as well, as I am getting through the initial stages. So thank you all, appreciate it.